So now the question for all of you. How many of you have the ideal life you want? What is that you think about your life? Your time starts now.
Sir, excuse me. This is actually after they do the Wheel of Life exercise. So
Okay. Okay, we'll do it again. Don't worry.
we'll start off and then.
Okay. Sure. So now we'll see what it happens and then we can reassess after the test. Okay, many of them are not outside. Okay. So now over to Dr. Murli Pandit.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Now, I'm not a self-help guru or I don't have an ashram somewhere. I'm actually a consultant anesthesiologist working 6 days a week, close to 10 to 12 hours a day. So, why am I doing this talk on work-life balance? One is, I'm quite passionate about other things in life, apart from work. And when I spoke to Dr. Balavenkat, this was last year, I expressed my passion to actually do something on these lines, and I'm thankful for him for giving me this opportunity. So, to start off with, work is a part of life. So, this concept of work-life balance is something that we have to take out of our head and keep it elsewhere. It's all about life and how we balance life. So, if you go to Google and search for work-life balance, you'll get close to 17 crore results back. 17 crores within 0.82 seconds. Now, it tells two things. Google servers are extremely fast. Second thing is, there are a lot of people who have done a lot of work on work-life balance, and it is something that every human being is probably striving to achieve and not achieving it. So, coming to what we are going to do in the next 45 minutes is, we will do an exercise for all of you, and this will give an idea of how well your life is balanced or what you could do about your life. I'll speak a little bit about key concepts about life balance, and then we will go on to the panel discussion where we have 4 eminent anesthesiologists who will share their thoughts about this. So, can we have the lights on, please? The entire Audi lights, please. You can switch on the lights. So, all of you have a sheet with you, which is basically a circle. Now, if you see, this circle has got a scoring of 2 to 10. Now, you got also blanks on the top and to the side. Now, what I want you to do is identify 8 dimensions in your life. Now, it could be the roles you play, such as a husband, wife, father, mother, manager, colleague, team member, sports player, or it could be important areas like family, financial freedom, a physical challenge, somebody might want to climb the Mount Everest here, public service, or a combination. So, I'll give you probably a minute or two to fill these slots based on the 8 dimensions of your life which you think are most important. So, please. So, eight dimensions. You have the chart with you? Yeah. So, you see the dotted line. So, you need to fill the 8 dimensions that you think are important to you in your life. It could be a mother, it could be a sister, it could be a doctor, or something so passionate like probably art. Outside, on the dotted line. So similar to this, can you see this here? So a chart should look like this once you have done it. Stock market, somebody is laughing probably because of that. Yeah. A lot of anesthetists are good on the market, so that's the reason I put it on there. I can see a majority of them are probably finishing or finished. Well, at least one thing that the exercise has done is nobody can sleep. So everybody is up and... Can we go to the next slide? Can we move on? Okay, so considering most of you have filled these 8 dimensions, what I want you to do is consider each of this dimension in turn, rate it from a scale of 0 to 10. Now 0 is you're unable to fulfill this dimension. So if your dimension is something like art, you were probably painting as a kid and you had this passion about art, you're unable to fulfill, so you will give yourself a 0. If you're doing once in a while, you probably give yourself a 4. If you're doing it every day, a 10. So on 0 to 10, I want you to rate each of these 8 dimensions which you feel is important in your life. And you mark this, and once you mark it on the wheel, it should look something like this. So this is how your graph should look. Not this, but something close to this. So now we move on to the next stage. Now all of you will have a plot which is something like this or like this, depending on how you kind of shaded it. Now the next phase, which is most important, is the ideal score. Now the ideal score is each of these dimensions. I want you to think about it and plot what you think is ideal. Say, as a father, you might think the ideal is probably 8. You are probably scoring 4. So your ideal graph, another graph will come up on top of the one which you already have, and I want you to plot that now. Now, please remember, all of us are different, we have different priorities, so you will need to make choices and compromises as the time and energy is not an unlimited supply. So I want you to plot another graph now, wherein you will plot your ideal score.
Definitely no copying, no?
Well, I can see a group here which is copying, so I think they're all probably working in the same environment. So now comes the question which was supposed to come up now, and it came up earlier. So we will go on the timers now. Now you know your ideal score. You have plotted your ideal graph. Now how many of you have the ideal life you want? Now S would be number 1 and no would be number 2. So, now the graphs have turned actually, so we had a majority of people saying they had an ideal life before we started, and it was by accident it came up because I didn't plan to have it at the start, but it happened so. And now after doing this exercise, what we find is majority of you are not having the ideal life that you want. So we will just go through in the next 5 to 10 minutes before we go on to the panel a few key concepts about life balance. Now, this is from the magazine Business Insider. Now, all the business magazines, Economic Times, anything you look at, they keep doing these surveys about life and how to enjoy your money. So, if you look at the 20 best jobs for work-life balance, doctors do not feature in the 20. Please don't search. People are trying to read the list now. Data scientists. See, if you want your kids to do something useful in life and enjoy their life, the first job on the list is data scientist. So, all of us here do not feature on the top 20. So we have to acknowledge this is the first step about becoming balanced or having a balanced life. Acknowledge that certain jobs are incompatible with balanced life. So that's the first step that you need to take. Face the truth. Now, many a times we would have realized in life that once we accept life as it is or face the truth, we become relaxed. We get solutions which we never had before. So make sure you face the truth, acknowledge that we are in a profession where we cannot have an excellent balance. And take responsibility for designing your life. Don't let somebody else design your life. Don't let your wife or your husband, for that matter, or parents, after you reach a certain stage, of course, design your life. You have to take responsibility of your own life and you have to set your own boundaries. Second thing, most important, is judging the balance. Now, I've got different hobbies of photography, cooking. Now, I cannot have a time frame of 12 hours to do everything. So I cannot say I'll go in the morning, go do some exercise, have a nice breakfast, go do some photography, go and do a challenging case in theater, do 4 blocks, then come back home, then probably go for a holiday. I can't do all that in 12 hours. At the same time, if I say I'll do everything after I retire, that's another trap. Now, there might be many here in the audience who are probably keeping things for a later date, saying that I'll do this once I retire, I'll go to probably China after I retire, I'll do the Europe trip after I retire. Now, you have to realize that most of your friends might have had CABGs or knee replacements by the time, and they might not be in the shape to probably enjoy the holiday with you. So it's important to first fix a time frame of what you mean is balance. So if you probably keep a 4-year window of saying, I'll probably visit the US and visit my relatives, take my family out for a vacation, or something on those lines, you have to have a realistic time frame before you start doing anything about balancing life. Second question, which will be for the voting now, is how many of you consider lack of time the major reason for a poorly balanced life? Like, how many of you feel you need more than 24 hours to balance your life? That is the question. Okay, so majority of you feel that 24 hours is enough. That's very good. Almost equal, 53-47. But the graphs are actually not showing the right. I didn't look at the numbers actually, sorry. So 53 and 47, so more or less equal. So coming to the approach to the problem of this balanced life. Now, in the morning, we had an excellent talk about professional excellence, and probably if you remember, there was one slide where there were these 5 balls. Now, this is very similar. So we have these 5 spheres or 5 balls in our life. Now, I don't know whether you noticed when Professor was showing the slide. The ball called work is a rubber ball, according to this theory, that once you bounce, it falls down, it will come back. Whereas the other 4 balls are made of glass. So this is the principle behind this 5-sphere concept of a balanced life. So let's take work, for example. Now, work, one of the books, in fact, which I was reading to prepare for this talk was called The 3 Marriages. One is the real marriage, the next one is work, and third is self. So what they say is work is more like a river which starts with a glacier. So you start off as a postgraduate, you finish your post-graduation, you are still that nice glacial kind of, clear blue stream because you are not polluted with anything. As we flow down towards the sea, we gather speed. We gather a lot of other tributaries joining in us. We give a lot of energy to others. It could be a power project, it could be irrigation, whatever. So as a person progresses in career, he has to grow as a river which grows and keeps the land fertile. So people around us should grow, people who actually are at the end, when we reach a higher point of our career, there should be a lot of people who should benefit. And work is inevitable. We have to kind of go through work, otherwise we can't make a living. Next is health. Now, health is something which, as doctors, we should set examples for the society. So, health is something which we cannot neglect because health is wealth, and without health, you cannot enjoy wealth. Third, which is extremely important, is relationship. So here, I'm talking not about relationship with just a family member, but also with friends, with the community. So this is something which is extremely important to have a sane life. Next is spirit. Now, when I talk about spirit, probably a lot of them are thinking about the colored water and the Scottish water, which is again called spirit. Now, what we talk about spirit here is the inner voice that we have. Now, all of us have an inner voice which tells us what is right and what is wrong. If we don't have a good relationship with this inner voice, we cannot have a peaceful and happy life. So, talking about spirit is not talking about religion, not talking about going to temple, church, or mosque. It is trying to understand yourself, and there are a lot of things which can be done, and one of the things is probably to attend the Isha Yoga in the morning tomorrow, because that is probably one of the ways of learning how to connect with the spirit. And last but not the least, interest. All of us during our younger age would have had some hobby. It could be probably motorcycling, trekking, anything, there are a lot of things, cricket, a lot of people have cricket as a hobby. And as we progress later in career, we tend to lose interest in the interest that we had. So this is something which we need to connect back. And this is how these 5 balls are being juggled in our life. So at any point, we try to hold 1 or 2 balls and the remaining 3 are spinning. Now, it's extremely important to make sure that we understand a pattern, and juggling is one of the best things to understand how to balance life. So here, if you follow the balls, it's actually confusing, but you can see a pattern like an infinity, which forms when these balls actually rotate. And these 2 balls that are in the hand are the most important balls, because how you throw them up in the air is how they will land back into your hands. So out of these 5 balls that you have to connect with 2 at any given point of time. So it could be work and health. So you can cycle to work, you can walk to work. So you got work and health connected. Health and relationship. The morning walk you take it with your wife or a husband for that matter. You can have a nice chat and de-stress. Relationship and spirit. You probably can join a yoga course together, or you can go with a friend to probably something on a spiritual kind of a trip. Spirit and interest. Similarly, you can connect each sphere with the other one, and make sure that you connect 2 spheres at any point of time. So a few of my registrars here know that I love photography quite a lot. So yesterday when we were traveling from Bangalore, when we stopped somewhere for lunch, I was taking few photographs of the clouds. And they said, sir, you take photographs here also. So what I was trying to do is connect 2 spheres here, wherein you accomplish and you are able to balance better. So coming to the key points of this 5-sphere concept, don't choose between the 5 spheres. Try to be all of this. All these are balls that we are juggling, and we should try to be all of this. And always remember, the small things matter. Reading a book to the child in the night is probably bigger than taking the child to probably Disneyland, because that matters more to the child than going on this big holiday. And small investments in right places. And when I mean investments, it's not money. I mean investments as time, as a relationship, as a transaction on a human level. Because one small help, one small thing that you do to somebody might actually pay back later after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So now what we will do is, you can just take a minute to read this. We will go on to the survey that we did. We did a pilot survey of all the anesthetists in Bangalore. So we sent out 816 questionnaires to people, and we had 151 complete responses. Now, these are the results of anesthetists who are working, so it will be more or less extrapolating it to all of you here. So age-wise, we had majority of them between 31 to 50 years, more or less equal ratio with regards to men and women. Job profile, again, there were different people, but most of them were consultants and people who are working in educational institutions like assistant professors and associate professors. Majority of them were married, and most of them had children of school-going age. This is again, taking the age group into consideration, this was expected. And place of work was again divided between corporate and educational institution. Only a few of them were freelancers, probably around 30 of them. And this is, we'll get to the real results now. Active hobby. Majority of them did not have an active hobby. So this is probably something extrapolating it to all of you also, because this is what the cross-section of the study has shown. Hours worked, most of us work 8 to 12 hours. This is what we found in the survey. Hours spent with the family. Majority of it was between 1 to 2, 2 to 4. So people were spending time with the family. People were commuting. Bangalore traffic is quite bad, so there are some people commuting more than 2 hours a day. this is one question which had the maximum response with regards to negative or positive. So will working a day less in a week help manage your life better? We are nearly 85% who said that yes. So probably working a day less will make things better. Now, this is a question which is for all of you now. Can we go on to the question, please? So are you postponing enjoying a hobby or a vacation for a later date when you think you're well settled? So, yeah. So 53 again 47. Now, when we looked at the results, we had a significant number who said they will actually postpone enjoying a hobby or a vacation for a later date. So around 65%. And this is another thing which we asked about the surgical team dictating life pattern, and majority of them felt that the surgical team dictates a life pattern. This was another startling thing. Many of them, 47%, felt they had not enough sleep. So this was another significant finding in our survey. And insecurity of the job was again equal more or less. But the most important thing was we asked them what are the most 5 important things in life. And you won't believe it, family actually featured first. It overtook work. So the title of this topic should have been family life balance, not work life balance, because a lot of people think family is very important. So now these are the results of the survey. So we'll now move on to the panel discussion. So before that, I would like to make a statement saying that let us change the definition of a successful man from the man with most money when he dies wins to man with the best lived life when he dies wins. So now we'll have the panel, please. I won't be like Arnab Goswami. I'll let the panel talk. So can we introduce the panelists, please?
The panelists?
So I'd like to invite Professor Vincent Chan, our first panelist, to please come on stage, please. Yeah, we'll take a seat.
Right. Can you switch on the lights, please? Lights.
Next speaker. I'd like to invite Senior Consultant Dr. Sri Krishna Joshi from Bombay, please. Next. Next, I would like to invite Professor Anju Grewal, please.
Anju Grewal is a professor, mother, daughter-in-law, editor of a journal, and several caps that she has.
Lastly, I would like to invite Dr. Sudhakar Koppad, a senior anesthetist from Bangalore. So we have around 25 minutes with the panel discussion. So without much delay, I would like to start with Professor Chan. The first question being, how important is family in achieving academic success? Because the academic achievements that you have is something which a lot of you youngsters would like to emulate here. So how important is family in achieving the academic success that you have achieved?
Well, from my personal experience, I would say that it is a very important factor. I think I learned a lot from the morning lecture on professional excellence is the work-life balance, and for me, the change is a work-life balance. And it's very true. I think for a family to be successful in an academic institution or for anything, not just academic work, I think the family and your closest partner obviously is the very important part of that equation. And I think for me, before I get married, I think we need to find a spouse who is sympathetic and know what you really want to do in life. I think that actually for me is a blessing, because my wife knows how much I work as a medical student and then a resident. So without her support, I don't think I will ever get to where I am. So a sympathetic spouse, partner who can support you along the way, that's very important. But I also heard from this morning's lecture, another way is not to get married. Then you don't have to worry about having to worry about the other part. So,
But then probably we'll have to worry about the meals.
But then you'll be very lonely and you won't be very happy.
Thank you. Now, the next question I would like to actually ask Dr. Anju Grewal. Now, being a wife, mother, as Dr. Bala was saying, anesthesiologist, an academician, teacher, head of the department. Any advice to... Professor. Any advice to youngsters, there are a lot of youngsters here, and how you successfully manage these roles? And there are a lot of people who are probably struggling to manage one or two roles, probably, just coming from home to work and back, they're struggling. So how do you manage this, and how do you manage your time?
I think probably Dr. Rajshekharan answered that question in the morning for me. You need passion in all your roles to manage them well. And I know I do a lot of juggling. I asked this question to my younger daughter. She's my biggest critic at home. And she said, Mama, you juggle a lot at all your jobs and probably delegate a lot. But then, of course, I do come back to all of them to whom I have delegated my jobs and see whether the things are done and kind of do some kind of what we technically call as debriefing. But I would just be around with them. And one of the best ways that I have found to spend time with my children, because my editor work starts when I get back home. So there's a phrase, a family that eats together, prays together, stays together. So I've added another phrase, word in it. A family that eats together, prays together, and also studies together. So when I sit down with my laptop, I ensure both my daughters are with me. And at least till now, I've got my elder daughter in the loop. The younger daughter is slowly coming in the loop. So that's how we, kind of try to spend. And whatever time I get, I try to give them some quality time and undivided attention. That is what the children need.
Thank you. I would like to ask the next question to Dr. Joshi. Now, what about the husband?
My husband is a neurosurgeon. Yeah, I would say I'm blessed to have him, because despite the fact that he's a neurosurgeon, he understands the travails of an anesthesiologist, and so I'm less bothered at home.
So if you got a spouse who's a doctor, so the same thing continues: study together, eat together, pay together, operate together probably.
No, we work in separate hospitals, so we don't carry our fights together back to the hospital. So we work in different institutions. That's a blessing, I would say. So when he's angry with his anesthesiologist, I can show him the correct perspective to look at anesthesiologist. So that's a good thing. But yes, he is supportive of my ambitions and my work, which needs a huge support, considering I spent around 75% of my time in either academics or my journal work.
Okay. So, sir, question to you. Now, many give up hobbies after joining work. Now, from your point of view, why is it important to keep it going? And what are the strategies that you have adopted to keep your hobbies going?
Yes, I have two hobbies. One is I have learnt music in the earlier phases of my career, and I when I started my work career to start with, I had given up my hobby of music for almost 10 years because I was busy running around for my work. And then I realized that this is the only work is not getting me anywhere. I'm getting quite bored after that. And I realized that, and I started my music again. I made sure that 2 hours of the day I've kept free in the evening or night, whenever it is possible, to make sure that my hobby continues. And that gave me a tremendous peace of mind. So much so that even in an operation theater, when I'm tense, I hum a song and all my tension goes away. So I think developing a hobby, may it be cycling, may it be photography, may it be sightseeing, may it be going to various things, one must develop a hobby while you're working. Work alone should not be the only criteria.
Thank you, sir. So I would like to ask the next question to Dr. Sudhakar. Now, as you can see, Dr. Sudhakar is extremely fit. Now, he plays regularly tennis more or less every day, and you need to see the fitness levels once you shake his hands. Now, anybody who has shook his hands will probably know with regards to his fitness level. So, sir, question to you is, why is exercise important, and when did you realize yourself that it's important?
To forward from the exercise you began, the quest for happiness, matter of fact, the quest for work-life balance continues to be as elusive for quest for happiness. I'm sure all of us agree happiness is not product of money. Happiness neither is a product of success. And if I get the work-life symmetry in the literal sense, I don't think it is achievable. I strongly feel it is a mirage. I strongly feel it is a myth. But yet, the juggling what we eventually make is filled with conflicts, filled with stress. It is not that I started my sports and exercise to prevent that. It is not that by design I started my sports and exercise. Perhaps it's my happiness level at all the time resulted my tennis at least 4 days in a week, at least 2 or 3 Sundays golfing. It has helped significantly adding productivity, the energy levels, de-stressing, which I realized perhaps a great contributor to achieve peace levels, reducing conflict levels, reducing stress levels at all walks of life. So, somehow I find adding sports dimension to your exercise a great rejuvenator, an energizer. Not only that, it gives us an opportunity to make friends outside your profession.
Thank you, sir. Now, actually, I'll be asking a common question to all of you, and which is extremely relevant presently because there are a lot of people here with young kids. Now, what would you say are the important lessons that a parent should give to a child?
Of course, his time. Unfortunately, time is a major constraint, scarce commodity for most of us. This is where my work-life balance always I felt seriously imbalanced. But yet I do feel, at least, of course, time is lost already, but I wish we all have a reasonable time for our children.
I think that's very important to give time to your children because otherwise they don't realize what parenting is like, what we are doing for them. And that's why, as a matter of rule, I think one should form this at home, that at least one meal, preferably a dinner, because during the day the children go to school, you are busy with work. So I think you should at least have dinner together and not have individually. So that at least for half an hour to 1 hour you are with them, you can discuss with them as friends, not only as father and mother. And that gives them a tremendous confidence and they come out more openly for all their problems with you.
Professor Chan, and any important lessons that you would give all the young parents here about how to bring up their children and what are the key things that they should focus on?
Well, I still believe that, like what we heard this morning, it confirms that we probably share the same goal, is we should pursue our dreams, pursue our passion, because if we lose that passion, then I don't think we'll be happy. We will be able to do our best. So I would advise I have one daughter, I suggest to her, just do what you think is best, what you enjoy most, and do a good job. And I say that the same thing to medical students and to our residents. This morning, actually just now you asked the question, whether to take one day off will improve your lifestyle. For me, my problem is I use that extra day, I thought it would help me, but I actually do more academic work. So again, I think I have to realign my passion in some way, because otherwise I may take another day off and then I'm still doing the same thing that I like.
Thank you. Ma'am, yourself, any
I think
important
what my
lessons? I wanted this to be a common question because it's an important question.
What my co-panelists have said is extremely relevant, but as a parent, it is important, since we are all young parents up here, is that if you want your children to grow up with certain good values and, so you need to be a good role model yourself. Be honest, and that is what the children are going to be. If you are going to teach something and be something else, then that thing will not go along with them.
I think you should develop good manners, as she says rightly, and also encourage your children for encouraging their passion and love for anything. So encourage them. If somebody wants to go for swimming, please make sure that she goes for swimming. Make sure that you go and or help her go and develop that hobby, so that their overall development is much better.
Sir, the next question is actually to you, sir. Now, all of us go through various stressful situations in life, and as anesthetists, we do go through a lot of stressful situations on a regular basis. It could be relationship with surgeons, patients, or even catastrophes. Now, as a senior anesthetist, can you just highlight a few things that you have done, or something which people can take home here as a message, strategies which can be helpful in such situations?
I think the first and foremost is keep your conflicts in the hospital or in your work in the hospital. Do not bring them home, nor do you discuss them with your children in any fashion, because that doesn't help one bit. Second thing is occupy yourself with other things that are happening. And in case there is any medical catastrophe, for example, if I or my wife had to have some medical problem, explain to the children properly as to what is happening. The mother is going to the hospital for a few days, and explain to them, let it not come to them as a shock. What happens is that when it comes as a shock, they don't know what to do. So I think that's the way you should go about it.
Ma'am, the next question is to you. Now, we spoke about parenting. Now, we'll go a step before that about newlyweds. Now, there are probably newlyweds, or there are a lot of bachelors here probably wanting to get married. Now, a few lines on how to live a happy married life. I know it's a oxymoron, anti kind of statement, but how to live a happy married life? A few points from you. No, for ma'am. You can take it as well, sir.
So we can have both the perspectives here. I think it is very important. I learned it as I went along my married life. It's important not to be judgmental and accept the other person with whatever their good and bad points are, as it is. You tend to be judgmental, and that is where conflicts start coming in. So that's one of the messages that I would like to give it to my younger generation. Yeah. Be honest to each other. That's another pillar of good and happy married life.
I think two things, as she says rightly, be honest to each other and understand each other. But more, as important as that is, make the other spouse understand what your problems are. That you're going to be working odd hours, you're going to be any time late in the night, and Don't you would tell her that I'll take you out for a picture tonight at 9 and you don't come till 11 o'clock. So I think unless you explain to the spouse what kind of life you are leading, how it can cause, how it may not stick to time, it might help in getting a much better family life.
Thank you. I think we might have to wind up the session in the next few minutes, so I'll probably, we'll go through two questions. Dr. Sudhakar, sir, how essential is good quality sleep? Now, we had our survey where nearly 45% said that they don't sleep well. Now, I wouldn't even trust a driver who has not slept well. How can a patient trust an anesthetist who has not slept well? So, with the kind of schedules that we normally have, probably this might be the last question. We got a minute, sir.
If I may ask Dr. Bala Venkat how many hours he sleeps, or if I may ask Steve Jobs or Bill Gates how many hours they sleep and how extraordinarily productive they are. I don't know, there are different kind of genes which cannot...
Probably, yes.
So, however, in reality, perhaps 6 to 7 hours of good sleep is very essential to be relaxed, recharged, which enhances your threshold for stress levels, your anger levels, patience levels in every walk of your life. I think for most of us, practically all of us, however I may spend sleepless nights for a few days, it is important in long term to have a good sleep of 6 to 7 hours to maintain good health.
Thanks a lot, sir. So, I request the audience to give a big round of applause to our panelists and hope you enjoyed this session, which is probably the first time an anesthesia conference has had of work-life balance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'm sure that a lot of people are enlightened. But those who are not married, don't go away with the thing that you don't want to get married to be very successful.